Hello, so I thought we might as well do a spooky stream today. I know I'm a bit early starting, but oh well. Because I just thought we haven't done one in a while, and I know a lot of people enjoy spooky streams, so I've got the light off because, woo, it's spookier. That was mostly, actually, because I wanted to demonstrate this, which is really cool. Some of you have seen this in a video before, but I found out it works a lot better when it's run on direct current than basically alternating current. So that's why I've got the dosimeter on. Because I'm sure some of you know cathode tubes, crux tubes, all those throw out X-rays, which is why that bit's glowing green next to it. So I've got a video coming up on this because it shows you the flaw with Geiger counters. So let me just show you something, because you might find this quite funny. Some people find it horrifying, but don't worry, it's not as dangerous as it would seem, because if you put an ionization chamber near it, it's a very, very low dose. But it's just an interesting thing. So there's this. It's probably going to be too bright to show up on the webcam, isn't it? But there we go. So as you can see, this is normal background radiation. Let's bring it in. According to this, it thinks it's at 30-odd Rontgen. And obviously it's not. Stuck as one of my favourite planes. So currently it thinks it's been exposed to like 11 Rontgen total. And of course, it hasn't. What's going on here is basically that the Geiger tube is ionizing inside, completely overloading, due to the very high amount of counts, but they're very low energy. But yeah. But yeah, see, if you look at how much dose it thinks it's been exposed to, if it focuses, it's certainly not been exposed in reality to 21 Rontgen. eBay, as said, they turn up on eBay now and again, but yeah, the radiation isn't really that high. What's going on is, but as I said, I am going to monitor it because, again, this isn't really a toy as much as it's cool. Let's get this crux tube. So, not crux tube, sorry. This is a Geiger tube, Soviet high-range ones, but obviously it's glass filled with air. So what ends up happening, you put this here, look, and oh, it's glowing. It's glowing like a light bulb. Why is this? It's because basically it's just ionizing the air inside it, overloading the Geiger tubes. So yeah, I just thought that was pretty interesting. Yeah, so you can see there's a bit of tritium there glowing green because the X-rays excite it. And what was the other thing you can do with these? Oh yeah, this is pretty cool. So get one of these bulbs because they've got a phosphor coating. Hello, everybody. Oh, all right, glow in the dark. You might enjoy some of this. Although this has nothing to do with a spooky stream, I just got distracted doing it. But yeah, using the crux tube, the X-rays excite the thing. But just, you know, so I don't die of cancer, even though I said I've been measuring it, and it's not very high in real radiation numbers. I would not put baby oil on the gas mask. No. Just flick it off. But yeah, it's a pretty fascinating thing. And it's quite interesting because you can overload lots of Geigers of it to do stress tests on them. But anyway, the reason I thought we'd do a spooky stream today, because most people enjoy them, and I had a nightmare I can remember really well last night. It was actually quite, you know, made a lot of sense in a narrative type thing. And it was where basically there was like some sort of cult that moved into like a small town or a village, and then they were like brainwashing people to murder family members. And it was all about, you know, a few people in the town trying to resist and then escape from the cult. And it was quite a good, you know. The problem is with a lot of those old gas detection kits, they either don't work due to age, they're one, use things like you have to break a bit of glass and it reacts to the air. So obviously if you just use it randomly, it won't work. Or, you know, they're very expensive, basically. But yeah, so I'd like to hear about other weird nightmares people have had and things like that. But yeah, the crux tube's pretty fascinating just because, as I said, I've done videos on it before, but, you know, if you're into Geiger counters, getting them to go off is pretty funny. Oh, yeah, I know what you mean, Glenn Doc. I definitely feel like in a nightmare you can really feel like you're falling and stuff like that, even though people are like, oh, you can't feel pain and that in the dreams. I definitely think you can feel stuff like that in dreams. But yeah, oh, another interesting thing I'll show with this is, you know, this really loud Polish RS-70 radiation alarm. Let's put it onto 0.5 Rontgen with the thing turned on. Oh, there we go. Let's put them onto 30 Rontgen. See? But yeah, the reason is, as I said, it's not really that much radiation. What's going on is it confuses Geiger counters because of how it ionizes the air. Also, for the people into old British military kit, you'll probably find this bit interesting. I'll put that there so you can actually see what I'm doing. So, you know the Plessey PDR M82s that most people can never get a reading on? Oh, I found a super easy way of getting a reading on it. So, from here, it should be still 0.0 centigrade when it works. There we go. Right, let's move him in. Hopefully you can still see the numbers on there. Hello, Max. Thank you very much. So what's that saying? 6 point something centigrade there, 13. Can't see the numbers very well at this angle because it's not a backlit display, but as you can see, it makes the numbers go up pretty high. I think if I put it there, they'd be higher because that's closer to the GM tube, isn't it, to the end of the thing. But yeah, it's saying at least 49 centigrade. I managed to get this to max out yesterday at 300 centigrade. But of course, that isn't really 300 centigrade. It's part of the flaws of Geiger counters. But as I said, it's funny because, you know, I said with a lot of Geigers, it's funny at how much it overloads them. Funnily enough, these Chinese Geiger counters don't have that issue because they've got steel cases that prevent very low energy getting in and overloading them. But, you know, as I said, it's funny with a lot of Geigers because it just completely makes them go off the scale. But good old ionization chambers don't, which is the pro to ionization chambers as opposed to, you know, Geiger counters, because ionization chambers actually do measure the energy of the air, not just how many counts or decays are going on. But, you know, as I said, it is pretty fascinating that, you know, there is enough energy that it's literally just doing this to the Geiger Muller tube. Let's flick the light back off because it's more spooky. But yeah, thank you very much, Max. I appreciate that. But yeah. So yeah, if people are interested, what happens for those of you, you know, Geiger Muller tubes when they get really ionized, that happens. See that? You get the weird orange glow in them. A bit like the Nixie tubes. And again, tritium. So like this tritium's quite old. So it's not the tritium making this glow very well, it's because the phosphor gets excited by the X-rays close to the thing. Yeah, sorry, I keep getting distracted by this, but it's really cool being able to generate like X-rays in a small sort of, you know, area around something to excite, you know, stuff like this. It runs on DC. You can run it on alternating current. That's what I've done before. But alternating current is very boring with these compared to DC because it seems direct current is much better at producing X-rays. So basically, I'll try to explain quickly, as much as it's not spooky, but I guess radiation is sort of spooky in a way. So what's going on there is I've got the crux tube which are like precursors to cathode tubes, you know, like cathode ray tubes that are in old TVs. And what's going on is basically there's a couple of ingredients I've got here. I've got the DC box, which is, you know, one of those bench DC transformers. So it turns mains electricity into direct current, because mains electricity is alternating current. And then you dial it up to whatever you want. I mostly use this for powering old electronics that use weird battery combinations. So it's then attached to a step-up transformer box, and this one is meant to be at mains voltage, like 240 volts. It's meant to output 10 kilovolts, but I don't really believe it does do that. I think it's more like 4, 5, or 6 kilovolts. Now, because it's only got 60 volts going into it with this transformer, it's not outputting the full power. But with crux tubes and cathode tubes, you know, and X-ray tubes, the more electricity going into them, the more powerful the X-rays emitted. So for a safety reason, you don't want to be putting too much voltage into it, because you can still mess about with, you know, Geigers and that. Router dying? Do you mean my router's dying, Max? If you're having problems watching the stream, try watching it not on Chrome, because I have to stream via Opera now, because Chrome just lags out when I try and stream on it. But yeah, I suppose a creepy thing that you'd never want to hear, I'll just do that again for the people who didn't see it. Let's have the Geiger counter just go insane off of it. But again, it's because, you know, Geiger Muller tubes. So as you can see over here, there's not really any radiation. Get it a bit closer. Just literally oversaturates it. So if I put it here, I'll hold it up in a minute so you can see the screen again. But yeah, it currently thinks it's receiving about 57 Rontgen per hour. It's constantly going up. I think this can only count to up to like 100k Rontgen. Sorry, 100 Rontgen. Oh no, it does go over 100 Rontgen. Okay, 115 Rontgen, 120 Rontgen, 125 Rontgen. And obviously, clearly, we're not being exposed to that much radiation. As I said, I've done a video that comes out in like a week that explains part of the problem with Geiger counters. Yeah, it's at 204 Rontgen now, and supposedly it's at several million counts per minute, which obviously isn't really happening. But this is really good for stress testing Geiger counters to see how high they can go without actually, you know, getting near horrible radioactive sources. So yeah, it currently thinks it's absorbed 33 Rontgen. You know, so at the moment, it basically thinks that you're receiving like a Rontgen per second of dose, which, you know, if you know even the worst nuclear accidents in history, like Chernobyl on the roof was something like 2 or 3 Rontgen per second or per minute or something. It was not that high. Oh, thank you, Marcus. Let me go back and read it. But yeah, what's happening there, as you can hopefully hear, is basically the X-rays, because they're very low energy, are only going about that far. But they're very, very intense once, you know, the numbers of them. So yeah, I'll go back and read Marcus's thing in a second. But yeah, for those of you who just want to see how crazy this makes numbers go, if it focuses, come on, focus. Yeah, so there you go. As I said, thankfully it's not that dangerous, but it's just ionizing the Geiger Muller tubes like that bulb, overloading it. But it's an easy way of stress testing lots of Geigers, or working out if the Geiger counter actually has significant shielding to avoid the thing. Right, let me go up and read Marcus's comment, because sorry, I missed it. So thanks, Marcus. He says, have you got a PMK5 GP21? No, I've got the PMK3. That's the latest Russian mask I have, and the ROU. But as I've said at the moment, I need to be really careful spending money on things, you know, because of what's going on to the economy of all the corona stuff. No. I was saying to Mike I'd read Marcus's comment, because Mike, Weapon Collector, said to me, you missed a super chat from Marcus. That's what I was doing. But anyway, yeah, so the nightmare I had last night was quite creepy, and it's one of those weird ones because I can remember it, because as I said, it was one of those ones where, you know, there's like a proper narrative to the nightmare. British Army vehicle, probably Challenger 2 tank. I don't actually know many of the modern vehicles. There's like the Warrior infantry fighting vehicle, isn't there? There's the Challenger 2 tank. I don't actually know much of the vehicles Britain uses anymore. But yeah, so the nightmare I had last night, just because it was one of the good ones I can remember, was in the sense of, almost made narrative sense, was that like a cult moved into a small village or town. It wasn't like my local like village or anything. It was just, a generic sort of small town. And then they started slowly brainwashing people in the population to like start murdering family members that like questioned the cult. And then, they were getting bigger and bigger. And then it was about, I don't know if it was me or just, like following the narrative of somebody else in a dream, trying to, like fight the cult, and all the brainwashed people that were randomly murdering people. Favorite German tank from World War II, King Tiger. Yeah, ideally this is meant to be a spooky stream, so we'll talk about spooky stuff, although I just find radiation interesting. So, I would love you to, Max. I don't know how practical it would be to send it. Do you have Discord? Because if you've got Discord, I can PM you my address on Discord. Although if you want to find my address, I think you can find it anyway, because of doxing idiots. But Snorky11HHH30 said, I had a nightmare last night where every time looked familiar but weird. Oh, where everything looked familiar but weirdly unrecognizable. I was completely lost in town, just like mine, but everything kept changing at every familiar turn. But yeah, Max even, sorry. If you've got Discord, you probably have me added on there, don't you? Yeah. At me, Max, on the server, then I'll make sure I add you to my friends list, because I can't remember if you're actually on my friends list or not, because I did tidy that up recently to make sure that, only people that regularly PM me could get hold of me. But yeah, then. Yeah, I've done videos on Nerf gun reviews, Marcus. A load of people find that weird, but apparently you're not allowed to call them Nerf guns. They're meant to be called Nerf blasters, because guns implies violence. But at one point, I just quite like getting Nerf guns because they were fun to, like while you're in your house, just go. Oh, do I have one in this drawer? Let's have a look. I know that's completely unrelated to the stream, but I'm sure YouTube won't get me done. Here we go. Has it got the foam things in it? It has. Right. Let's see if we can nail that gas mask on that sign. Yeah. It's not very hard, is it? But yeah, Nerf guns are quite fun if you just want to practice, like, pulling a trigger while, sitting at a desk, as long as you don't have to go and keep collecting all the, darts anymore. Yeah, that's pretty creepy, Max. The thing is, radiation is actually quite creepy in reality of, you can't see it, there's none of your senses can tell you that it's there. But if you're exposed to it, it kills you horribly. What are you on about, Richard? The tube there, or the step-up thing there, is meant to run off mains voltage roughly, so about 220 to 240 volts of AC. I'm running it on DC at the moment, but I can only run it up to like 60 odd volts on the bench transformer. But this is meant to output. They advertise it as 10 kilovolts, but I've seen this exact same model with stickers on saying 4 or 5 kilovolts, and I think that's a lot more accurate. Based on if I plug it into the mains, how bright it looks compared to other similar things. But yeah, the one I think is actually a better one, in all honesty, is this little one. Because this little one seems to power on with less power going into it, and I think the numbers on it are just way more accurate. As in, it says it outputs, what's it say, like 3 kilovolts on this one or something? Yeah, outputs 3 kilovolts, and this one seems a lot more accurate, Oh, Bart. I think Bart has a channel, but I don't think he ever uploads to it, and I don't know what it is. But he's got one of those channels where now and again he's like, oh, I really want to start doing a video series on this, and he procrastinates and never gets around to it. But that's Bart. You'll have seen him on some of my videos, but do I own a PTM1? What's that? What's that? Some CBR said the spookiest nightmare I've ever experienced was walking down a rusted hallway while Geiger counters was ticking rapidly while I heard screams and coughing down the hall, and I guess that was meant to say I felt weaker and weaker. The worst mask, and it's way worse than the GSR, is that pewter Chinese mask I've got, where if you tighten the straps, they ping off because they have a weird type of strap that's held on by friction, and like a tiny little kind of ledge that holds the little strap buckles on. And the mask is made from such a soft silicone, which might sound like it's a good thing in terms of comfort, that the weight of a filter on the mask actually starts causing it to like bend in on itself. Yeah, speaking of this thing, if people are interested, just because I kind of want to hear what sound it makes, let's get the Soviet, you know, for Chernobyl ASMR, I guess. Let's get the Soviet DP5. Let's turn this on. And let's see what sort of ticking noise it makes. Let's just get this, make sure the voltage is set correctly. Flick this guy on again. Right. That's the correct voltage. So let me just put the headphones, hopefully, where you'll hear them. Right, interesting thing with this is if you've got the thing closed for the beta shield, you don't actually, the X-rays aren't good enough to get in, but sounds like a creaky door. Anyway, let's see what the dose equivalent is. Let's go to the 200 Rontgen mode, because I reckon it will register on the 200 Rontgen mode because of how it overloads GM tubes. Put that there. Yeah, I reckon it's about 5 Rontgen, I think. Yeah, this reckons about 5 Rontgen. If it goes up again. On the other, but obviously, as I said, it's not that high in reality. If I go to the times 1000 mode, we'll just go to about. It's interesting. It's barely moving now. But I reckon that's because the shielded probe does a good job of protecting it. Because if I close the probe, this is the interesting thing. Oh, it still penetrates some of the probe. Don't know if you can hear that. What does this read then, even with the probe closed? Let's reset it. I'll go to the times 10 scale in millirontgens. This reads 0.25 times 10, so 25 millirontgen. Or no, 2.5 millirontgen. Yeah. So the point is that I've got electric shock from this now. Weirdly, not that. But, oh, well. Old Soviet gear. As I said, it's more funny with, like modern Geigers that just completely overload on it. Because the point is, if I flick that off, if I pick up this that I've had next to it, look through this, you'll notice that when I last reset it, and I'm going to need to find a light, aren't I, to shine through there. I'll read your thing out in a second, Marcus. If that will focus. Probably won't. Okay, you're not going to see it very well on the camera, but basically, oh, wait, maybe. The line is left of 0. So basically, actual ion chambers do not register radiation from that at all, because it's, as I said, it's very, very low penetrating radiation. It's just very, very high counts. But sorry, I keep getting distracted by that because it's a cool thing. Right, Marcus, let me read your message out. He said, "Had such a hard time finding Millennium in Europe. Can't believe I'm getting one for 140 pounds sterling in Asia. Quite new to no blooming." That's good. It's weird that though, isn't it? Sometimes you can find masks in places you wouldn't think to find them at better prices. But you know, who knows why? Wow. Yesterday, if you didn't see, I've been playing a lot with the thing, but that isn't meant to be the theme of this stream. I smuggled it in. Maybe it's people selling them after like the Hong Kong protests who no longer want them or whatever. Well, that's annoying if your GP5 broke, but again, they are old masks, aren't they? All right, let me read it, Henry, because if you've direct messaged it me, I won't see it, will I, on here? So do you want me to read it out, or do you want me to look at it but not read it out? Oh, wait, are you Iron Blaster, Max? I'll reply to your comment in a minute, then. So I'll see if he wants me to read out his thing. Yeah, he was saying he had a nightmare where he got loads of packages, but none of them contain the gas mask he wants. I got mine from D&B Militaria. I'd say the DP5V, just because the DP5V doesn't require you to regulate the voltage like the older versions do. It basically knows what the voltage is and then puts it to the same thing. Oh yeah, I've seen that, Marcus. They're like the AliExpress masks, aren't they? Just sold for even more money. I find masks like that interesting to play about with, but I wouldn't want to spend good money on them. And at the moment, like I said, I really need to stop buying things in general, just because. Did Max Johnson reply to my thing? Right, I can try and do, Marcus, a video that's like a very basic explanation of them. But when you get radiation detectors, Geiger counters are probably the most common form of radiation detector, but there are pros and cons to them. Pro and cons to them. Yeah, that's the thing, bots, isn't it? Sometimes it's not because you think it's going to be a good mask. It's just a bit of humor to have a play about with it. Yeah, I can try and do like a beginner's guide to Geiger counters kind of video. I think I've sort of done some videos like that. My favorite gas mask, the Avon CT12, although I must say this Chinese MF11D is certainly growing on me. Yeah, you won't see it very well, but yeah, we were meant to be mostly talking about like nightmares and ghosts and stuff like that on this stream, but then we keep getting sidetracked talking about masks and radiation as usual. Yeah, the very interesting or basic thing with Geiger counters is a Geiger counter works by using what's called a Geiger Muller tube, which is basically like a vacuum tube. to detect counts of ionized radiation hitting it. The good thing about a Geiger counter, it means it's very sensitive normally. So it can detect radiation even if there's very little of it around. The disadvantage to Geiger counters, and this is a big disadvantage a lot of people don't seem to think about with them, is that a Geiger counter, basically, because to give you a dose equivalent, as in like Rontgen, Sieverts, all the stuff like that, they have to base it on one thing. It's normally cesium-137, because different radioactive isotopes, different counts equal different amount of energies. So the main issue of Geiger counters is, unless you are experiencing the type of radiation with them that the counter was calibrated around, you get a totally wrong reading. It's why Geiger counters I like the most, the ones that let you display CPS or CPM, because that at least is accurate to what the Geiger counter's reading. Yeah, I've got an Abbott Ale. But I'll PM Iron Blaster in a bit after I finish the stream, because I assume that's Max, but he didn't reply in the stream if it was him or not. But well, is that like a thing in some sort of folklore swaggerino where like a clock breaks and it's like a omen of death or something? I've not heard that one. I know there's like lots to do with crows, isn't there, or like ravens and death and whatever. But I think different cultures have different weird things like that. Yeah, you asked me earlier about War Thunder. As I've said loads of times, I played War Thunder, but I kind of lost interest in it after playing it for years. So, I mean, walking under a ladder might be a bad idea. The thing that I always never liked was walking under, like, those makeshift little construction sites they might have on like a high street, where there's just a load of scaffolding and people carrying stuff around there. Because you think how easy it would be for somebody to drop some bricks off the side and it just like smash your head in. Howard Hughes, wasn't he the Spruce Goose bloke? Or are you thinking of Howard Stern, or is there another Howard Hughes I don't know about? But wasn't Howard Hughes the Spruce Goose bloke? All right. Thank you, Max. I missed that one then, but yeah, thank you. You are Iron Blaster. I just wanted to confirm that in case somebody else then randomly PM me trying to imitate to be you. But yeah, I'll reply to you as soon as the stream ends and give you the details. I mean, I think quarantine was a sensible thing to do, Cindy, but I think we might have taken it a bit too far. And the issue is now Germany started relaxing quarantine. Apparently now Germany's R0 is back above 2 again. So they're having to start locking stuff down again. So I don't know until there's a vaccine if we're ever really going to get out of this, unless we just say, look, we're going to have to take risks. Okay. I haven't heard of him then, Radio Driver. I listen to LBC quite a lot. No, weirdly, I've not played many spooky VR games. I'm trying to think. Have I played any games with my Oculus that are spooky? I mean, there's The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, or whatever it's called, and that's got spooky bits to it, but for the most part, it's not really a horror game. But no, the thing is, I really need to get round to using the Oculus Rift a load more. Thing is, gang stalking, is that a real thing, or is it like one of those weird conspiracies? Because the problem is with some conspiracy kind of things, you never know how much of them are real and then how much are people just taking them way too far. But is that the thing, like, where somebody thinks loads and loads of different people are stalking them? But a lot of the videos I've seen of that seem to be people with obvious mental health problems that are just like shouting randomly at people in the street. saying, you know, like, this person in the car park is stalking me, when it's just a random other person in the car park. Yeah, the main issue, bots, is even though I've got a VR headset, I can never be asked to play it because most games, you know, most proper games do not use VR. So it's more like a niche kind of cool thing. But a lot of the time I'm like, oh, I'm just going to play some Command and Conquer. I'm going to play some Gary's Mod, which aren't really VR games. And I don't have the VR motion controllers either. I've just got literally the Oculus Rift and the, you know, just use it with a keyboard or a mouse or a 360 controller. Oculus Rifts come down quite a lot, though. I got mine when it was quite expensive. Like, it had been out for a year, and at that point, it had gone down from being like £1,000 to like £600 odd. But I think now you can buy it with the motion controllers and the headset for like £300 to £400 quite often. I mean, I know that's a lot of money because you could get a brand new console for that. If somebody said to me, like, when a PS5 comes out, what would be better to get a PS5 or an Oculus Rift? I'd say get a full-on console. You're gonna have a lot more fun with it. But yeah, isn't Siren Head kind of like the latest Slenderman type thing? It's a bit like an SCP type thing, isn't it? Of a weird thing that is in like misty woods with a siren for a head. Yeah, I've got one program like that. I'm afraid I have no idea how to pronounce your name. But there's I'm trying to think of the name of it. I had it obviously on the PC I used to use the Rift with. And that was all right, but it's very meh how well it works with some games. Some games it can work quite well, other games it doesn't work with at all. So it's one of those, you know, things of... I liked playing Stalker with it, even though you couldn't really play Stalker with it, but it was fun to just walk around some of the zone with a VR headset on. But, you know... Is the Valve Index their new thing, isn't it? I've not really followed much of it. I think VR is going to be one of those things where hopefully in a few years' time it might get to the point where it's a lot more affordable. There's a lot more games for it, you know, it's all around a better experience. The old Slenderman thing originally is like the Marble Hornets and the something awful like Photoshop stuff, isn't it? Yeah, Command & Conquer Remastered is brilliant just because it's a classic RTS game, you know, back when games were just games that you bought and played. That's it, Vorpex, Max, thank you, that was the one. Vorpex had like a yellow icon, didn't it? And I think you bought it, you had to email them, then they gave you a license key. Yeah, Vorpex, that's the one. So some games worked with it, some games didn't work very well. You know, it was a bit of a mixed bag. Mixed bag, but yes, Vorpex was Vorpex was the one. Yeah, annoyingly, Source games never really worked very well on it because I thought Source games might work quite well on VR, but they never seemed to run very well on it. Yeah, Superhot's quite a good VR game if you've ever played that. I think you can play Superhot though, can't you, without a VR thing? But Marcus says, in Hong Kong, gifting someone a cloak means bad luck because it sounds like going to a funeral. And number 4 means death. Yeah, that's strange. I mean, it's probably not strange in, you know, different cultures, is it? But over here, I know there's what are the weird old ones here. Like, you shouldn't walk over, like, cracked floor tiles or something. Breaking a mirror's bad luck. Number 13's bad luck, I think, over here. Although there's lots of these that, you know, nobody takes them seriously now. Let's see, Cindy. I have played Total Annihilation, Arnold, but I never really got into it. I think I bought it too late, you know, when it was quite antiquated. But cheers, thank you, Henry. Yeah, I've played Team Fortress 2. I used to really like Team Fortress 2. The problem with TF2 I found was when they started adding all the different, you know, unlockable weapons, I thought it broke the game balance quite a lot. That's good to know, Marcus. So it's only £120 for something that plays VR stuff. Fine, that's good to know. Yeah, thank you, Henry. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, everybody else that's donated so far. Like I said, at the moment, I need to be really careful with spending, just because I'm sure, like a lot of other people in this, none of us really know what's going to happen with certain jobs, when Corona stuff ends, or how long the Corona stuff's going on for. For those of you that aren't in the UK, basically our government did quite a nice sort of socialisty thing, which wasn't a Tory thing at all, called the furlough scheme. And the idea was that basically the government pays 80% of people's wages. So lots of employers, if you can't go to your job because the government's home closed down, you get paid 80% basically to sit at home and not infect people. The issue is lots of jobs probably won't reopen. So basically, when the furlough scheme ends, everybody's going to be made redundant that's been stuck in those sort of, situations. And the problem is, because all of it is, we're following the science, we can't say what we're going to do because it depends on what the virus is going to do. It means certain industries have complete, no certainty. It's like with pubs, clubs, restaurants, loads of things like that. I think they were saying like 10% of the UK employment sector at the moment is, like people don't know if they can go back to their job. Yeah, should just sell off all my stuff. Yeah, that's the thing, Arnold. The other issue as well, of course, is for lots of companies, they've still got to basically pay rent and that, haven't they? Even if their landlords give them a bit cheaper rent, they still have to pay rent. But, if they can't open and they can't sell anything, Yeah, it's all very scary territory, and that's scary in like a non-horror film way, but real life fears of economic, fuckery. Ah, cool, Fox. Hope that all goes well. I'm technically a second cousin, whatever it is, where like one of my cousins has got 2 kids. So it doesn't make me an uncle, but it's second cousin, isn't it? Something like that. So it's sort of a bit like being an uncle. Yeah, still locked down in the UK, and the problem is at the moment the government says one thing and then they go back on it and say, "Oh, we're actually going to do something else, or we're going to do it from this date." Not straight away, but if stuff changes, then we might change what we're going to do. They've relaxed a lot of the lockdown. Yeah, I think it must be really good, Marcus, for the channels that do content where all their content revolves around not really needing new stuff to talk about for videos. Yeah, you see, you can just get clippers like I do and just do that, and then doesn't surprise me, Max. Well, it surprised me that they admitted to it, but in the UK, everybody on the radio and that is saying now, like, the government just got it completely wrong with masks, because they were doing all the thing of, oh, don't buy masks because they don't work, but doctors need them, rather than just saying something simple like, masks work, but there's not enough, so please make your own at home. But there's all this stuff, isn't there? I know we're going completely off theme of the stream now, but where they were saying about like social distancing in pubs, like how the fuck is that going to work? Places where people literally go to drink and lower their inhibitions, how are you going to expect them to follow social distancing? Yeah, pub gardens would be fine, but loads of pubs are saying they would gonna have to have a really weird system, like where you'd have to book on your phone to go in at a certain time, and they were saying, but the problem is lots of people who go to the pub aren't going to want to be playing around on an app or want to do it spontaneously. They're not going to want to book an appointment of when to go to thing. But the problem is as well, a lot of pubs don't have big beer gardens. I like big beer gardens, but that's the thing they keep bringing up on LBC. When a government minister goes, "Oh, but people in the pub will social distance." It's like the more you drink, the less you'll be social distancing. Yeah. But yeah, it's. I don't think a lot of this has been thought through very well, has it? Favorite military helmet? Historically, that's a good question. I'm not sure historically. Out of all the ones I've got, the modern British Army one, because it's very similar to USACH, but. Oh yeah, there's also that bots as well, isn't there? They were saying this because they had some like landlords for pubs, phoning in, or publicans, whatever you want to call them. They're saying the problem is as well, yeah, you've got toilets where you're going to have somebody constantly like wiping down door handles for the toilet and everything else as well. Well, have it like a post office or a bank, Mike, where they open a little flap and put a beer through. Yeah, this is the thing, Justin. This isn't really thought through. I want pubs and everything to reopen, obviously, because a lot of our economy depends on it. But I think they're just going to have to drop the pretense of having a lockdown. It seems stupid that they're going, "Oh, pubs can reopen, but there's going to have to be all these restrictions." It's like, well, just end the lockdown then. Yeah, I knew what you're on about, bots, but you know what I'm saying. I think it's more tech storm that nobody likes traffic wardens. So what's scarier than the idea of, like a kind of civil servant type job that's job is to hand out fines to motorists being given a gun to hold to shoot people, At the moment, Puffing Guy, it's really hard to recommend particular masks to people just because the prices are so like, at the moment. Like I said, the best mask I found in terms of you can buy them brand new and cheaply. If I get it untouched from here, I'll turn a light on, hang on, so you can actually see what you're meant to be looking at. Yeah, this filter's caught on this one. Is these Chinese style masks that are like a Scott Full Vision or whatever they're called rip off. I can't remember the actual name of the Scott mask it rips off. The thing is, I wouldn't trust them against proper NBC type stuff because obviously the rubbers aren't going to be good enough. But they make an airtight seal, and they're 40mm masks, so they're pretty good in that regard of actually just being for the price an actual decent quality mask, because they still sell them at like the £20-30 sort of price for them. Saying about that, Mike, I think I saw a joke image once where somebody was on about lock, stock, and two smoking barrels, and it was on about the traffic warden getting beaten up or kidnapped or whatever it was, and it was saying how I was before and then after this event, and it shows him with a gun. Yeah, this is the problem. Like Coco Stewart just said, at the moment it's really hard to recommend certain masks because you recommend one and then you see that the prices are just insane in lots of places. The thing is, if you could reliably get GOST filters easily, like modern GOST filters easily, I'd actually recommend GP5s, just in the sense that most of them are in still good enough condition for Corona type stuff that they'd work. But the issue is, it's really hard to recommend GOST filters that are easily available or at decent prices, especially as when I did that video recently of like, oh, turns out FP5 filters may or may not be GOST. Like they're not meant to be GOST, but then they made a load of GOST ones, or they labeled P5 filters FP5 filters. There's like all that shit, and it's like, can't even recommend stuff easily because it's not over 150. I don't know. When you say a GP6, do you mean a GP5M as in PMG2 fox sickness, as in like that one that's there? That's a dosimeter. I was wearing it because if you didn't see earlier, we were playing about with a Crux tube. So this shows you absorbed radiation dose, and it's still at 0 millisieverts. Ah, this is where my millisievert one went. Excellent. I was looking for this one for ages. It's because externally it looks the same as the centigrade ones, but... Which one's a Chinese T65? I'm sure when I Google it, I'll recognize it. Let's have a look. Box Chinese T65. There's T65 assault rifle. I don't think you're on about that. You're obviously on about a mask, I assume. But is that the cheek filter one that looks like it's got a tumor? That one? Because I know of the old Chinese masks, there was like the tank crewman style one, wasn't there? There's the cheek filter one, and then there's the kind of good rip-off they did of the PMG but improved it, which is like, yeah, half PMG, half... that's the reason I like the Type 69, or the M69, what it's called. The one that's like a weird hybrid of a US M9 and a Soviet PMG. But the interesting thing of that is the filter in that is actually pretty good in the sense of it's like a metal-encased filter and everything. But yeah. Weirdly, it's like the actual mask itself is a lot better quality than I was expecting it to be. I just really wished it was a 40mm mask, but I suppose that's what the T69 is, isn't it? Which particular one, Brian? I've got a few different types. One I've got is complete dog shit, which is the one that's kind of like a black one, and it's got yellow sort of looking filters on. That one's awful. The ones that are 3M rip-offs aren't too bad, but they're nowhere near as good as real 3M masks. And I would say if you bought on the Chinese 3M rip-offs, make sure you put the real 3M filters on them, not, you know, like some of the dog shit filters that are meant to be 3M filters but aren't. Oh, look, he's back again. I think this SLR was the first proper semi-automatic British rifle, wasn't it? Henry, why did you unhide him? Oh, thank you, Henry. If you didn't know, that was the weirdo that kept coming on one of the other streams like 50 times in a row going, oh, you shouldn't shave your hair. In all honesty, yes, but you can't tell countries what to do, really, can you, with how they want to make masks or filters? Well, the PTM1 would offer less protection than a proper mask. It all comes down to, you know, how much protection do you want to have yourself, kind of thing. You know. But personally, I think most people wouldn't be too off-put by a panoramic mask because, you know, they can see a lot of your face behind it anyway. 13 euros for a GP5 is fine. The issue, as we were saying earlier, is good luck if you want to try and get a GP5 working well with filters that aren't old, you know, dodgy Soviet filters. I haven't seen it, Dosker, and I wouldn't recommend you go and watch videos like that. Because I'm sure there are terror watch lists where if you look up how to do certain things like that, you're definitely going on them. You know, it's good to know how to not accidentally do something like that, but that's just don't mix chemicals. But I would really advise people not to look up very dodgy videos on how to make certain things. In theory, Beagle it might be, but I don't think the MOD has actually specified which mask is going to be replacing the GSR. It's very hard to know, Coco Stewart. I'd say literally the only way you can know a 3M mask is legit is to buy it from, you know, a proper seller. as in certain hardware stores and things like that, where they buy directly from 3M. A lot of the ones on eBay are Chinese copies of 3M masks. Assuming you mean a mask, not a mast, do you text on? He said, do you know of a mask that was a helmet mask, but also had straps or a harness to fasten it around the hood? The PMG, the Soviet PMG-1 has like a strap at the neck area to make it tighter, which it really doesn't need. The Finnish M39, or whatever it's called, has like a rubber strap on the back, which you can tighten, which again, you don't really need, if that makes sense. But most helmet-style masks are basically just a hood, and if they had an additional bit, it was like one little extra strap at the top or the bottom that you could tighten, but most didn't use that. I suppose because it just made manufacturing and production costs, higher. Nah, I've only got the ones that I've done videos on. Trying to think, like, legit spooky encounter. I do not recognize that mask from the top of my head. The cotton is breathable enough, your Nan, that you should be able to breathe through the bag anyway. Some of the Warsaw packed bags did have holes in the bottom, others didn't, but the ones that didn't seem to be like a very thin cotton material that air just goes through anyway. I don't think I hid Fox Sickness, did I? Or did I hide him by accident when the other guy came on? But yeah, I'll add him on Discord. I did. What was that? The one like the kind of MIB style encounter where he was on the road standing partway behind a sign. That was very weird. All right, I see what you mean. Yeah. I've streamed Stalker a few times, as in the game Stalker. But the problem is, as I've said before, streaming games, I struggle to multitask between reading the chat and concentrating on the game. So that's just the issue, where obviously where I'm sitting here, I can see the chat pretty easily and respond to it. When I'm playing a game, often it might be like 5 minutes of me concentrating on something in the game, trying not to die or whatever, and then missing lots of the thing. Now I've just got one monitor. I wouldn't want multiple monitors. I've got one big monitor, perfect for watching films on, playing games on, all that. I wouldn't want another monitor. There's not really space for one unless I downsize this one to get another smaller monitor. No, thankfully, I've never experienced sleep paralysis, but I know it's meant to be very terrifying if you wake up and can't move and then you see a figure in the room or something. But thankfully, I've never had sleep paralysis. I've had a few nightmares where I think I wake up and I'm still in a nightmare, in my own house or something. But yeah, PDF is pretty good in terms of yeah, that's part of the issue, bots. It's both how stable is an internet connection, because there was a point a while ago where my internet just kept literally cutting out quite a lot, and that was really annoying, because you might be doing a stream and then the internet would cut out. Right, you will not be on Twitch tonight, Mike. All right, thanks for letting me know. I'll watch a film then, or Doctor Who or something later tonight. What's that SCP for hunting jaws? Need a bigger boat. Well, there's things Doska like Amazon Prime, which you can watch things, Netflix, there's all those. You can watch, obviously, films are uploaded on YouTube to YouTube. But you can get anything like VLC or any of those media players and just play films like that. What episode was I going to watch? Might watch Tomb of the Cybermen again. Tomb of the Cybermen's quite a good episode. Again, when everybody says, will you buy this mask, will you buy that mask? If it turns up at a good price, yes. But at the moment, as I said, I really need to stop buying stuff just because of the whole economic situation that, you know, is not good for anybody involved. Is it like a white plastic thing, Bob? I know what you mean, but I don't know what they're for. They like for training breathing resistance without actually using a filter. But I've seen on some 4A ones, like, there's like a white plastic thing on there that some people have on instead of the filter, but obviously wouldn't filter anything. Well, I'd say Dagoff on the old Doctor Who's, where they are actually like those weird Frankenstein monster-y kind of people trying to keep themselves alive with cybernetics. Obviously, in later Doctor Who, it's just like, oh, it's a robot suit with a brain in it. Boring. Yeah. There's a very good Doctor Who audiobook that's pretty fucked up called Spare Parts. I think it's Peter Davidson as like the voice actor for it. And it's all about, you know, what they actually did on their planet, like digging up corpses and like recycling body parts to try and stay alive. Favorite Doctor? Tom Baker, maybe. John Pertwee. But I generally, if you listen to me a lot when I talk about Doctor Who, I do not like modern Doctor Who very much at all. There's a couple of modern Doctor Who things that aren't bad, but for the most part, I like classic Doctor Who, just like I like classic Star Trek. Doomwatch. I'm sure I watched that. Oh yes, where it's the barrels dumped in the sea. That's kind of a bit like Doctor Who, isn't it? But there was a Doomwatch series as well. I didn't watch any of that, but the film had a lot of the same actors in it. Yeah, they were dumping the barrels in the sea, weren't they, near that island? And then it was making the people kind of look weird and go. If you like Doomwatch, have you seen a French film called The Grapes of Death? I know it's a bit of an obscure title. In French, it's like Le Raisins de Mort or something. It was made by a bloke who mostly made porn films, weirdly. But The Grapes of Death is actually quite a creepy film. It's about like this girl stranded in like rural France where something's gone wrong with the wine that turns the French people into like murderous mutants. Probably sounds shit, but it's actually quite a good film. I might watch that again as well. Are you sure a Thai gem is worth $859? No, Trevor, because I've not seen enough of the old Star Treks to actually watch Picard, which is set after all of Next Generation, isn't it? Although everybody I know personally who likes Star Trek absolutely hates Picard. No, I've not seen Letters from a Dead Man. What's that about? Well, is MFKZ a film, Max? What? Sorry, what was that, Mike? You were replying to? Sorry, sounds good to me. I'd be fucked if it's the booze. So would you, lol. What was that replying to? Did I miss something there? Okay, I'll try and check that out at some point. But at the most part, at the moment, I'm trying to binge watch lots of Doctor Who, and I've got spare time. Ah, right, yeah. Weirdly though, Mike, two of the survivors in that film are like builders or something that drink beer, not wine, and that's the reason they're all right. But yeah, that's what I thought. But it's literally only the people that drank the wine because they used some sort of pesticide on the wine that turned everybody into like these pussy zombie sort of things. Star Wars, I like the old trilogy. The prequels are shit, but the Disney films somehow made the prequels look good. I like Rogue One, but I don't like any of the other modern Disney Star Wars. I didn't even watch Han Solo or the last one because I just knew I wouldn't like them. No, what's Umbrella Academy about? Is it about the Umbrella Corporation from Resident Evil? I assume it's not about that. No, Ready Player One certainly doesn't look like the type of film I'd like. But as we were on about before in the film stream, if you've not seen the 35mm restoration of the original Star Wars, you're missing out. Oh, are you on about a hazmat suit, Brian? If you're on about the full-size hazmat ones, then I know they do cost quite a lot. But even like close to $1,000, whatever it was for did you say $800? That still seems a lot to me for a hazmat suit. Yeah, we've gone about the Thing before, Trevor. I love the Thing, although I didn't like the 2011 one. The John Carpenter's The Thing, though, is amazing. Hello to you in Slovakia. I have been to Slovakia for one day, where we went to the capital after leaving the Czech Republic and before going to Hungary, where I spent more time in the Czech Republic and Hungary, but I have been to Slovakia, so hello to Slovakia. It was off for quite a bit of it, Antonio, but then people were asking questions and wanting to see gas masks, so I had to turn it back on. But I'll be going off in a minute. As in, you want to scare toddlers that are shouting outside by wearing a GP5, or you want to shout at toddlers while wearing a GP5. If you want to shout at somebody while wearing a GP5, you might find that difficult because it muffles your voice too much. You'll be Yeah, see, that sounds a lot more practical to me, Arnold. I would much rather have like a little NBC bunker thing than actually a hazmat suit in terms of comfort and protection. As long as you don't get arrested or shot, I suppose, Doska. No, as I said, I sent that back because the thing is, hazmat suits for me are just too bulky and awkward. You know, they offer a brilliant level of protection, but unless you have a need for it, like in a job, they're pointless because they just take up so much space. They're a pain in the ass to climb into and seal all up, and then get all the blower system on and all that. Yeah, I've been to Plymouth. I've been to most places in the UK, although some places obviously not for very long. But yeah, most places like Plymouth, Brighton, any of the seaside places I've definitely been to at some point for like a short holiday, if not, a week or more. No, Bowie knives are perfectly legal in the UK, fox sickness, but you just can't randomly walk around carrying them around on you. Owning them in your house is perfectly legal. Yeah, I've been to Lowestoft. As I said, like most of these places I have been to. My favourite probably coastal place was Harrison Lewis off of Scotland, because that's one of those very remote, rainy kind of little island town, island sort of towns of probably like 3,000 odd people on the entire island. It's very remote and nice. But I also quite like Weymouth and places like that, but more like the Portland Bill sort of Portland bit of it, the more rural bit. All right, I'll remember that for next time I go to Plymouth, Monty, but I don't know when that'll be. There is that really good place in Plymouth though that does the really good milkshakes, isn't there? The place that does like coffee and milkshakes that's open really odd hours. I'm trying to think what it's called now. But yeah, I like the sound of rain, especially if you're not out in it, but it's on the car roof or it's on your roof of your house or whatever. Yeah, fair enough. The thing is, if you've got a proper use for it, Brian, and you're going to make use of it for the money, that's good. It's just, for me, I have no use for the hazmat suit. It's interesting to do a video on it, and I was like, right, I've done a video on it now, I don't want it anymore. Rain on the tent roof's a nice sound as well. Anyway, I'll be off in a minute. So yeah, I'm going to watch some Doctor Who then, I reckon, seeing as Mike's not going to be on Twitch. I need to find those Nerf darts I shot as well. So Tomb of the Cybermen, I reckon I'll watch tonight, even though I've seen that one before. It's a very good episode. But yeah, I also might play some Garry's Mod. And once I've had this beer, I'm only going to allow myself like one more tonight, because some of the nights recently I've just drunken way too much for my liking. You know, where it's, you know, as much as some people are like, well, as long as you know, aren't vomiting or whatever, you know, you're not drinking too much. But there's still nights, you know, where I feel like I really need to not be drinking that much because it's just irresponsible, you know, and it's, you know, whatever. No. Anyway, see you all. But yeah, have a good evening. And, you know, sorry if we went off topic a lot on this stream, but it's been quite a good stream. And thank you to everybody that's donated as well. And I'll PM Max on Discord in a minute about sending me the thing. Right, cool. See you all then. Goodbye.